Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. Moving day had always been a fresh start for Alex. He packed his life into boxes, left behind whatever didn't fit, and set off for the next chapter. This time, though, the change wasn't just about leaving his old apartment. It was a leap into something completely different. New roommates, alien roommates. When Alex signed up for interspecies housing, he had expected things to be a little out of the ordinary, but a little turned out to be a massive understatement. The apartment itself looked normal enough, at least from the outside. A sleek, modern building nestled in the heart of the city, with metallic surfaces and floor-to-ceiling windows. Inside, however, the place was a playground of galactic cultures, and Alex wasn't sure if he was ready. The moving truck pulled away, leaving him standing at the door, nervously gripping his duffel bag. His new life waited on the other side. He reached for the door handle, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The first thing he noticed was the faint shimmer in the air. A translucent figure floated lazily in the living room, shifting its shape every few seconds. One moment it looked like a house plant, the next a large dog, then a formless mist that filled the space with an eerie glow. Alex froze, unsure whether to speak. "Oh, hey, you must be the new guy," the shimmering mist said, its voice fluid and echoing in the air. "I'm Morphex." Alex swallowed hard. Hi, I'm Alex." Morphex shifted again, this time solidifying into a humanoid form, though the head remained that of a giant insect, with bulging eyes and antennae that twitched in Alex's direction. "Don't mind me, I tend to fluctuate. Yeah, change. It's a natural thing for my species. I'm kind of in between forms right now." "Stress does that." Morphex's voice was casual, as if explaining why he was 5 minutes late to dinner instead of why he had the head of a praying mantis. Alex chuckled awkwardly, trying to act like this was all perfectly fine. "No worries. I guess I'll get used to it." "Hope so," Morphex said with a smiley, or at least what Alex thought was a smile. "Everyone here's a little unique." Unique was one way to describe it. The rest of the apartment wasn't quite as weird, though it had clearly been modified for its non-human occupants. The ceilings were unusually high, and there were strange mechanical contraptions in the kitchen that Alex didn't recognize. Alien appliances, probably. He started to unpack, hoping the rest of his roommates weren't as unpredictable as Morphex. As he moved his things into his bedroom, there was a loud thump from above, followed by the clattering of dishes. Alex looked up just in time to see a figure drop from the ceiling, landing gracefully beside him. "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to startle you," she said, her voice light and cheerful. "I'm Xylaura." Xylaura wasn't human either though. At least in appearance, she was closer than Morphex. Her skin had a faint shimmer to it, and her eyes were slightly too large, but otherwise, she looked mostly normal. Except, of course, for the fact that she had just dropped from the ceiling. Alex blinked. "Do you always do that?" "Do what?" The ceiling thing?" Xylaura smiled, tilting her head as if she didn't understand the question. "Oh, you mean my gravity alignment?" "Yeah, I live on the ceiling. It's just more comfortable for me. My species is used to lower gravity environments, so I installed some personal gravity tech up there." Alex glanced upward. Sure enough, there was a hammock strung across the ceiling, along with a few other makeshift pieces of furniture. It was an entirely separate world above their heads. "I see," Alex said, trying to wrap his mind around the situation. "That's different." Xylaura beamed. "You'll get used to it. I don't take up any floor space, so you're free to do whatever down here. Just watch out for falling objects. Sometimes I forget to secure things." She disappeared again, flipping effortlessly back to her upside-down domain. Alex stared after her for a moment, wondering just how he was supposed to make this work. It was only his first day, and he already felt like he was on another planet. That evening, Alex decided to try and settle into his new home. He cooked dinner or something simple, just pasta, and sat down at the kitchen table. For a brief moment, it felt almost normal, until the chanting began. From down the hall, a deep, rhythmic chant echoed through the apartment. The lights flickered, and a strange smell wafted into the kitchen, like burning incense mixed with sulfur. Alex stood up, cautiously peeking around the corner. There, in the middle of the living room, stood his third roommate. Grot was a towering, hulking figure, covered in dark scales that shimmered in the dim light. He wore elaborate robes, covered in symbols that glowed faintly as he moved. In front of him, a circle of strange alien objects floated in the air, spinning slowly as Grot chanted in a language Alex couldn't understand. Grot? Alex called out hesitantly. What are you doing? Grot paused mid-chant, turning his reptilian head toward Alex. His glowing eyes blinked slowly. It is my ritual, he said, his voice deep and rumbling. Every evening, I must channel the cosmic energies of my ancestors. It brings balance to the universe. Oh, okay. Alex had no idea how to respond to that. Does it, take long? Grot regarded him solemnly. It must be completed with precision. To rush it would bring chaos. Right, of course. I'll just let you finish. Then, Alex backed away, retreating to his room and closing the door behind him. He leaned against it, letting out a long sigh. What had he gotten himself into? The days passed, and Alex tried to settle into a routine. It wasn't easy. Every day brought new surprises from his alien roommates. Morphex continued to shapeshift unpredictably, often into forms that left Alex scrambling to adjust. There was the time Morphex turned into a giant slug, leaving a slimy trail across the living room, or the day he morphed into a hawk and got stuck in the bathroom. Xylaura, meanwhile, was as cheerful as ever, but her ceiling-based lifestyle presented its own challenges. Every now and then, something would crash down from above via books, clothes, even a lamp on Sia, and Alex would have to dodge the falling debris. And then there was Grot. His nightly rituals were a constant source of disruption. The chanting, the lights flickering, the strange smells, it all made it nearly impossible for Alex to relax. He tried to be understanding, reminding himself that it was part of Grot's culture, but there were nights when he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd ever get a decent night's sleep again. It didn't help that Alex was starting a new job in the city, and the stress of his chaotic home life was beginning to affect him at work. He'd arrive late, exhausted from another night of interrupted sleep, only to spend the day trying to keep up with his coworkers, who all seemed to have their lives together. One afternoon, after yet another rough day, Alex returned to the apartment, feeling completely drained. As he walked in, he found Morphex in the kitchen, currently in the form of a large, fluffy cat, pawing at the fridge. Hey, Alex, Morphex said, his voice incongruously deep for his feline appearance. Rough day. You could say that, Alex muttered, dropping his bag by the door. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Morphex tilted his head, his ears twitching. Keep what up? Living here. The noise, the mess, the constant. Everything. It's just a lot. The cat form of Morphex blinked at him. I guess we've been a bit much, huh? You're probably not used to this kind of thing. That's putting it mildly, Alex said with a sigh. I'm trying. But, I don't know. Morphex shifted back into his humanoid form, though this time his face looked more human. I get it. It's gotta be weird for you, but we're not trying to make things hard. It's just how we are. I know, Alex admitted. It's just a lot of adjustment. Morphex smiled. Well, we could try to help, maybe make things easier for you. Alex raised an eyebrow. Really? How? Morphex shifted his weight, leaning against the counter. You'd be surprised how adaptable we can be. We're not trying to drive you crazy. I mean, Grot could probably tone down the cosmic ritual a bit, and Xylaura well, Maybe we can get her some better ceiling storage so stuff doesn't keep falling on you." Alex rubbed his temples, feeling the tension ease slightly. "It's not like I expect everything to be perfect. I just need to find a balance, something where I don't feel like I'm constantly dodging disasters." Morphex nodded thoughtfully, his face now fully human but his hands still resembling bird talons. "Tell you what, I'll talk to Xylaura and Grot. We can at least try to make things a little smoother. It's the least we can do since, you know, we're all stuck here for a while." Alex felt a flicker of hope at the idea. "That would be great, thanks." The next few days were an odd transition period. True to his word, Morphex spoke with the others, and Alex noticed small but significant changes. Grot still performed his nightly rituals, but he started doing them earlier in the evening so they wouldn't disrupt Alex's sleep. Xylaura, with Morphex's help, reorganized her ceiling space, minimizing the amount of random stuff that fell. And Morphex, though still prone to unexpected shape-shifting, became more mindful about warning Alex when he felt a change coming on. It wasn't perfect, far from it. There were still moments of chaos. One evening, Grot's ritual got out of hand when one of his cosmic symbols lit up too brightly and almost set off the apartment's fire alarms. And Xylaura, despite her best efforts, dropped an entire plate of food from her ceiling hammock one morning, narrowly missing Alex's head. But overall, things were improving. The apartment no longer felt like a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. Alex, in turn, began to adapt. He started asking Xylaura questions about her home planet and her species' gravity differences, finding her explanations fascinating. She shared stories of her family and how strange Earth's gravity felt to her, and Alex realized she was just as out of place here as he was. With Morphex, Alex developed a sort of codea. If Morphex was stressed and about to shapeshift, he'd give Alex a quick heads up so he could brace himself for whatever was coming next. Grot was harder to get close to, but Alex learned that his rituals weren't just eccentricity as they were deeply tied to his culture and personal identity. One night, after a long conversation, Grot invited Alex to observe one of his rituals. Alex hesitated at first, unsure what to expect, but curiosity got the better of him. The ritual was intricate, filled with symbols that glowed softly in the dim light, and Grot's chanting was low and rhythmic. It wasn't nearly as disruptive when Alex wasn't trying to sleep through it, and watching it firsthand gave him a new perspective. There was a certain beauty to the ritual, an ancient tradition that had been passed down through Grot's people for centuries. By the end of it, Alex found himself oddly moved. "I didn't realize it was so important," Alex said afterward. "It is how I stay connected to my ancestors," Grot rumbled. "It brings me peace." Alex nodded, feeling a deeper sense of understanding. "Thanks for letting me be part of it." With that, the balance in the apartment shifted once again, this time in a better direction. The strange quirks of his roommates didn't feel quite so overwhelming anymore. They were just part of life here, and Alex found that he could navigate the chaos with a bit more patience and humor. Then came the news that almost sent everything spiraling out of control. One afternoon, while Alex was out running errands, he received a message on his phone from the Galactic Housing Authority. The apartment complex was due for a housing inspection, something Alex hadn't even known was a possibility. His stomach dropped as he read the message. The inspectors were coming to evaluate the living conditions for all mixed species cohabitation units. If the apartment was deemed unsuitable, Alex and his alien roommates could be forcibly relocated as separated, and sent to different housing based on species compatibility. Panic set in immediately. Alex rushed home, bursting through the front door to find Morphex lounging in his usual semi-humanoid form, a tail flicking lazily behind him. "Morphex, we've got a problem," Alex blurted out. Morphex raised an eyebrow. "What kind of problem?" "Galactic housing inspectors. They're coming next week." Morphex's relaxed demeanor vanished instantly. "Inspectors? Here?" "Yeah. And if they don't like what they see, They could separate us. Morphex shifted into something resembling a bird with a human face, flapping nervously. That's bad. Really bad. Alex nodded, pacing the living room. We've gotta pull it together. I mean, things have been getting better, but they're gonna be looking for any reason to say this setup doesn't work. Grott's rituals might be seen as hazardous, Morphex said, now morphing into a small, anxious-looking rodent. And Xylaura's whole ceiling thing. That's not gonna fly with inspectors. I know, Alex said, running a hand through his hair. We've got a week. We just need to make this place look normal, or at least as normal as possible. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Alex took charge, organizing a strategy to make their apartment as inspection ready as possible. He asked Grot to keep his rituals low-key, at least for the inspection day. Grot agreed, though somewhat reluctantly, muttering something about how stifling his cosmic energy would be uncomfortable. Xylaura, meanwhile, agreed to store her belongings more securely and promised to stay grounded during the inspection. Morphex was the wild card. His stress-related shapeshifting was unpredictable, and Alex knew they couldn't afford any surprises during the inspection. Together, they brainstormed ways to keep Morphex calm, trying everything from soothing music to herbal teas. Morphex appreciated the effort, but the results were mixed. At one point, he accidentally transformed into a fire-breathing dragon during a particularly tense conversation, which nearly set the curtains ablaze. Finally, the day of the inspection arrived. Alex woke up early, his stomach in knots. He'd spent the night before going over every detail, making sure the apartment was as presentable as possible. The floors were spotless, the furniture arranged neatly, and the strange alien appliances hidden away in a closet. Grot had promised to forego his evening ritual, at least until the inspectors were gone, and Xylaura was securely fastened to the ceiling, keeping a low profile. The doorbell rang, and Alex's heart leapt into his throat. He exchanged a nervous glance with Morphex, who was currently in a stable, humanoid form, though his eyes kept flickering from blue to yellow, a sign of stress. "Here we go," Alex muttered. He opened the door to find two galactic housing inspectors standing there. One was a tall, imposing figure with 3 eyes and a stern expression, while the other was smaller, with green skin and a clipboard in hand. They both stepped inside, their gazes sweeping across the apartment. "Routine inspection," the taller one said in a gravelly voice. "We'll be evaluating your living conditions to ensure compatibility and safety for all residents." Alex plastered on his best smile. "Of course. Please, come in." The inspection began smoothly enough. The inspectors asked a few basic questions about how the residents manage their different needs, and Alex answered with practiced ease. Xylaura remained perfectly still on the ceiling, waving cheerfully whenever the inspectors glanced her way. Grot, thankfully, was keeping to himself in his room, and Morphex was maintaining his humanoid form, though his skin was starting to shift in color. Things seemed to be going well until they weren't. Just as the inspectors were about to finish, there was a loud crash from the ceiling. Everyone looked up to see one of Xylaura's shelves dislodged, sending a cascade of alien artifacts plummeting to the floor. Alex stuffed to the side, narrowly avoiding a strange, glowing orb that trolled across the living room. The inspectors frowned, scribbling notes on their clipboard. Morphex, panicking at the sudden chaos, began to shapeshift uncontrollably. His arms turned into tentacles, his face morphed into that of a bird, and within seconds, he was a swirling mass of mismatched limbs and features. Alex's heart sank. This was it. They were done for. But instead of reacting with outrage, the smaller inspector with a clipboard chuckled. "Looks like a typical mixed species apartment to me." The taller inspector grunted in agreement. "We've seen worse." Alex blinked in disbelief. "Wait. You mean we passed?" The inspector nodded. "You passed, barely. Just make sure to secure the ceiling better next time." With that, the inspectors left, leaving Alex standing in the middle of the living room, his heart still racing from the near disaster. Morphex, now back in his humanoid form, let out a long breath. That was close. Alex slumped onto the couch, a mixture of relief and exhaustion washing over him. We did it. We actually did it. Laura floated down from the ceiling, her eyes wide with excitement. I can't believe we passed. Grodd emerged from his room, his usual stoic expression softening slightly. We are still together. Alex looked around at his roommate Tessa, his strange, unpredictable, alien roommate Tessa, and smiled. They might not have been the easiest people to live with, but they were his roommates. And, somehow, they'd made it work.